Little Horse and Big Conversation. Welcome to Little Horse and Big Conversation, where we give them their say, let the horse guide the way. Here at Little Horse and Big Conversation, we have the choice, so let's give them a voice. Here at Little Horse and Big Conversation, Little Horse and Big Conversation.
Hello and welcome back to the latest episode of the Little Horse Big Conversation podcast. You're here with me, Ross Cooper, and my co-host Amy Mitchell. And for today's topic is something that actually Amy brought up within a WhatsApp conversation we were having probably only a few days ago. We're going to try and keep this maybe a little bit more emotionally level.
What do you mean I can't have the rant that I had to you via the voice note?
Well, you can say fuck if you want to. Sorry, kids, PG warning there.
No.
So the topic is one that me and Amy have probably spoken about a few times over the years, and it's something which is quite interesting as professionals to observe of what does or doesn't happen within the industry. And the headline is going to be talking about collaboration and just expanding our thoughts on this a little bit, because I think, and I can only start from my experiences of collaboration. And for me, collaborating with other professionals is something which is needed, because one person cannot be everything. We might have lots of different interests. I mean, you know, as Amy knows, and as probably everyone listening does know, I have quite a lot of varied skill set within what I do. But in terms of integrating too much, that is a lot for one person. It's a lot for one person in terms of responsibility, but also it can be quite isolating. And I've taken different trajectories and explored different areas of work within my capacity, because I find that really interesting and that it does complement together really well. But it could also lead you to be quite isolating. And what I've observed over the years is that I think when it comes to collaboration, you get small groups of people that are really wanting and open to collaboration for the betterment of themselves, their knowledge, but for the horse. Because that's where it's going to lead us. It's going to lead us to be able to make a joint effort to collaborate to helping an individual horse, or to bring just a greater depth of knowledge across the community to help others. But by proxy to this, I think there is still a hell of a lot of isolation, but also chosen isolation, where people don't want to collaborate. People become very insular. And I think today we're just going to be exploring a little bit as to our experiences on this and to why that actually might be.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is something that I look at it through a couple of different sort of perspectives. So I look at it as a hoof care professional amongst other hoof care professionals. And I've got quite a lot to say about that. And also a hoof care professional amongst part of a multi-disciplinary team. So I'm going to start with the second bit first, because I'll get less cross about that. And I don't want to
the first.
I don't want to bring the tone down straight away. But I mean, you know, so the horse's main contact with the ground is, of course, through its feet. Hoof balance, healthy feet are super important. Like the whole thing of no foot, no horse, that kind of old adage will always ring true. Like that is never not going to be the case. However, you can be the greatest trimmer stroke farrier in the world, but if there's a load of other stuff going off in the horse's body, there are always going to be compensations in the feet. So I would say some of the horses that I've seen the most positive improvements on are the ones where the owner is really interested in whole horse and there is a team of professionals who are interested in other people's work as well as their own. And you're able to, the owner's able to schedule appointments. So, for example, what is really good, so far as I'm concerned, is if I go out and balance the horse's feet, and then body worker comes out fairly swiftly afterwards. So they're balancing the body to a set of balanced feet. Like that gets good results. And I really, I have some clients where I don't necessarily talk to the body worker directly, but the client has a very good relationship with both of us. And, I'll say, okay, so what's the body worker said? And they'll say, okay, so this shoulder was much better this time, but we're still seeing tension wherever. And I can then feed back and say, okay, that's good because I'm noticing an improvement in the right fore, but there's obviously still something going on in the hind end because we're still struggling a little bit with such and such a structure in the foot. And being able to have that, and I've got a particular client who she will tell me what the body worker's saying, what her trainer is saying. We have conversations about saddle fit, like all sorts of different things. And it's so useful for me to get all that extra information that I can then layer into what I'm seeing with the foot, what I'm doing in terms of the trim, and also what advice I'm giving to the owner in terms of management of the feet, whether they're using hoof boots, various different things. Or I can say, I've noticed this. So I'll quite often pick a hind leg up, do a little bit of kind of circle motion with it just to loosen the leg up a little bit before I actually start to trim. And you can feel that little bit of tension sometimes, like you're circling to the outside and you can just feel where the tension is and so on, and say, I just mentioned to the body worker that I'm feeling a bit of tension here. I just feel like the more that we can work together and communicate and not blame everyone else. So another situation that I've had is I have a client who uses a particular body worker type professional who, well, no, I don't want to be too specific because I don't want anyone to know who it is I'm talking about. But they take this horse to this person who will say, your trimmer's trimming your horse's heels, the hind heels too low. And to me, it's like, I'm not trimming the heels too low because I don't trim the heels because there's not enough heel to trim. Like, the reason that the heels are too low is because of the way the horse is loading its feet and a biomechanical issue coming from above. Like, I can help with this, but I can't fix it. Like, this is a two-way thing. And when somebody just goes, do you know what I mean? Like, that's nothing to do with me. That's this person's problem. That bugs me. It's like, no, it's not one person's problem. This is a whole horse. Let's look at this together and create a cohesive plan that fits together, that respects everybody else's input for the betterment of the horse. But I also think there's an element there of also it can be tricky. Right, so I think when the owner has got a group of professionals that are fairly like-minded, that can be so powerful. Like the results from that multidisciplinary approach from a group of people who are coming at things from a similar perspective, that can be really powerful.
Agreed.
However, when you've got professionals who are not aligned, either the progress can be really slow or it can even degenerate.
Why do you think, just going back to something that you said there about, passing the baton between, the shoulders a physio area or the response is a training area or the hoof is the hoof care professionals, passing that baton back and forth. Why do you think that's still a thing? Why do you think that is present? Do you think it's sort of to do with, a more of a traditional stereotypical typical mindset in the sense of this is my area, this is what I'm doing, that doesn't influence that. But as I'm talking about this out loud, we do have all the information out there to know, for example, if there's a biomechanical issue higher up the limb, that is going to affect hoof load and balance, but also from a physiological perspective, if the body is not working effectively enough to promote blood flow into that, we've got this reciprocal system happening. So in this day and age, and I don't know, I think I'm going to be talking about this from my perspective of I find it hard to perceive how you can work in that level of isolation from how it used to be. So I don't know if I've just answered my own question.
I mean, I think I don't think there's a simple, easy answer to it. I think,
Which
so
is
like,
why we do these.
in theory, like in the world that we live in, with all the technology that we've got and stuff, it should be super easy for us as multidisciplinary professionals to talk to each other. Like,
So, sorry to jump in. In what way would it be easy?
like everybody's got a phone on them all the time. Like, I don't particularly like talking to people on the phone. I'm going to be honest. People might notice that they phone me and I don't pick the phone up. I hate talking to people on the phone for the most part. But I love a good WhatsApp note. Like, I'll voice note till the ends of time.
Do you?
Um, so it's easy just to drop somebody a message. What I love, what I love is when you get there and the other person is already there working with the horse or is on the yard for some other reason. And you can actually have a face-to-face conversation. Like, who'd have thought? And I know that's not always practical, diaries, and we're all busy and so on, but there is nothing better than the other professional person being there, whether that be the vet, the body worker, the saddle fitter, whatever. And you can actually have this conversation and go, this is what I'm seeing. What are you seeing? So this is what I've been thinking in terms of a rehab plan. What are your thoughts? Okay, so that kind of fits quite well together, but this thing I was thinking of doing maybe doesn't fit quite so well with what you're doing there. So how about we do the thing that you're thinking and we see how that goes over 3 trim cycles, and then we reassess, and then we perhaps layer in this thing that I was thinking of doing. Do you know what I mean? Like, that is great. And that, I love that. And you learn so much from it and getting other people's input and ideas. I think there is a problem sometimes where, like, I feel sorry for owners sometimes because they're like piggy in the middle sometimes. And there's these conflicting conversations going on from different people telling them different things. Like, that is tricky. But then it's like, well, why do some people not want to? And I'm going to leave the hoof care side of it out of it for a minute because I want to talk about that really specifically. But why is it that some people don't want to collaborate with others? And I think for some people, it's an ego thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know better. I'm more qualified. I've been doing this longer. I'm more experienced. My modality is more valid than yours. Like, I think for some people that is part of it.
I think there is still quite a strong belief that, because because professional identity can be so closely tied to your level of expertise, I think that some of the time for certain individuals, they may perceive collaboration or openly going, I'm not sure, but let's explore this with other people. I think they may see that as a level of weakness or that they have lack of authority in that area. But I think for any professional to turn around and go, I'm not sure, I will investigate, or let's collaborate and see if this helps. I
Yeah,
think that is super healthy. And I have so much respect for people like that.
agreed. Yeah, I like, so for example, if my vet came out to one of my horses for an issue that we were struggling with, and they say to me, actually, I think this might be happening, but I don't know for sure what's going on. So I'm going to go off and do a little bit of research and talk to some colleagues. I love that. Like, nobody wants to be given a bullshit answer just because the person feels that they have to give an answer. And I think I think there's also, you know, to be fair to people, there's also when you're newly qualified in something, like you feel under pressure, or certainly I know I felt, and it's pressure that I put on myself. Like nobody else was putting this pressure on me, but I was putting it on myself to be the expert, to be the professional, to be able to give all the good advice and to be able to fix the horse. And it can feel really uncomfortable until you get comfortable with not having the answers. To start with, it can feel really uncomfortable to say, actually, I'm not sure about this, or actually, I think let's have a chat with such and such a person. So I think there's kind of like a growth element of that. Like you kind of grow into, or hopefully you do, you kind of grow into getting comfortable with that.
Isn't there a beauty in that?
Ah, totally.
In a poetic way, because I mean, again, so many things to consider with that is that a lot of what working with horses is about being uncomfortable and getting comfortable with being uncomfortable because we don't know everything.
Yeah.
And it's being
And what
okay
a lovely
with that.
metaphor for life. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. There we go. Double poetry. Sorry, I interrupted there. Carry on.
Yeah, and I think I think there are multifaceted reasons for why people will behave like this. But it doesn't serve the owner. It doesn't serve other professionals. And most importantly, it doesn't serve the horse.
Agreed.
So it's tricky. But it's just like,
Because the industry is so fragmented as it is.
yeah. Yeah. And now I am going to go on a little mini rant. So apologies, people.
I'll stick the kettle on.
Mitchell rant incoming. So, the hoof care industry. Like, there is some. I trained with equine podiatry training. It was a great course. I learnt a good trim. I used the basis of that trim for a long time. I still use it some of the time now. However, since then, I've gone off and I've trained with other people and I've learnt from other people. I've had the great pleasure of the likes of Dr. Thomas Teskey, David Landreville, Nashon, Susie Fay, like great people doing really cool stuff. And I've tried to pick things up from those and incorporate it into what I'm doing. So you kind of develop your own new stuff. And for me, that's what it's about. And I love meeting up with other trimmers and going, okay, what would you do with this? Oh, yeah, okay. I've not tried that. And sometimes I might think, I'm not quite sure about that. But the day might come when there's a specific horse that particular thing, I think, well, I've been doing the things that I would normally do and it's not working. But there was that thing that person was doing. I'm just going to try that. Because horses are all different. But there's a fairly large element of the barefoot trimming community in the UK, I think, who are really great and open to sharing and want to learn from each other. And I love those people. But there's also some elements, and there's not just one, because I know people are going to be thinking of a certain one, but there's several elements in the UK and globally who are, this is the only way to trim a hoof. You must follow these instructions and this is how you trim a hoof. And if you don't trim the hoof this way, you're no longer part of us. You must not talk to other people. You must not learn other things. You must not do anything that is not in our playbook. Like, what the is that all about? like the mindset. Where's your growth? Where's your want to help the horse? Where, like, why would you not want to learn everything that you can? Why would you not want to share? Like, no one person can trim every horse. No one person can teach every student. Like, that's not a thing. So why would we not want to be like, let's share knowledge. Let's see who's got good things working here. Like, what's your experience of doing that? Did you find that that didn't work? Why didn't it work? Like, let's pull the information. Let's learn from each other. Let's expand our knowledge. Let's expand our skills. But no, we've got these particular groups, and to me, it tends to be people who are trying to sell a product. Like,
Yeah.
this is the only way to do it, and this is my product. You will do it this way. Well, no, you've got a way of doing it, and that's interesting. Let's look at that. But there's also this way, and this way, which are all also interesting. If there was a single silver bullet, we'd all be doing it, and all the horses would be fine, and they'd all be perfect. But you don't see any area of people using a particular modality where none of those horses have problems because that perfect way is so bloody perfect that it's working for everything. No. Where's the looking at the individual horse, looking at its individual feet, the circumstances that it's in, the environment that it's in, the owner's situation, the resources of the owner? Like, it all fits in the picture. It's not just a let's pick up the foot and trim it to XYZ parameters. No.
Too many variables for that.
So there you go. That's my little rant over for the day.
Do you feel better?
I do. I do. I've let it out.
So what? So from sticking with the subject of hoof care, how do you feel this could be improved? I mean, what would you like to see within the industry for that to improve?
I would love to see students from different trimming schools being encouraged to go and spend time with other trimmers, other trimming schools, farriers, other members of the multidisciplinary team, but just sticking specifically to the niche of hoof care. Like, go and see what other people are doing. Even if all you do is go and think, actually, I don't think that's for me. But broaden your mindset. Like, having days where people can get together from different backgrounds and I love and I used to organise, and I've just not had time for the last couple of years. I really should do it again. Like, dissection and trimming days that anyone can come to from any background, and that you get some interesting cadaver feet and you look at them together and you talk, okay, what can you see with this foot? What would your trimming protocol be? What would your recommendations be? Let's talk about that. Let's try trimming this one in this way and this one in that way. And then let's dissect them and see what the differences are. And getting into some really good discussion. And you might get to the end of the day and you still don't agree with each other. But that doesn't matter. Like, you've learned something. You've shared some knowledge between you. You've had some useful discussion. You've created a community. That's the kind of thing that I think is important.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So why, like, but I think I know the reasons why, but it just, like,
Why?
it's protectionism. It's ego. It's money making. Like, it's small mindedness. And I'm sorry if anyone's offended by that, but it is.
And I think it doesn't just exist within certain professional remits. I think it's present throughout, but I
Yeah.
think it might be more highlighted in certain areas more specifically.
Yeah.
And what I find really interesting in observation, and it was just interesting listening to you sorry, it was interesting to hear you talk about that from a hoof care perspective or a hoof professional perspective, because collaborations obviously do happen within professional niche,
Mm-hmm.
but I find that there's more openness to collaborate outside your professional niche.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good observation, actually.
Which I think, in a sense, I mean, I think all of that is healthy. I don't think any kind of collaboration is unhealthy.
Mm.
But I think possibly there is more openness to that because you are working to expand your knowledge outside of your professional capacity.
Mm.
And whether that is because you, like you've said, coming from a place of maybe ego insecurity, and maybe you feel pretty secure in what you're doing is right from your professional remit, that you don't need any input at that time. But I think you meet people, and I think you come across people that have influences on your journey at the time that you're ready to hear it. And even if you're
Yeah,
not,
that's
I
very
think you
true.
may also circle back at some point.
Yeah.
Whether you never meet that person again, but you might
Yeah.
come back to a conversation you had or something that you saw, which may
Yeah.
influence what you do 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years later down the line.
Yeah. It plants a seed.
Yes. And I think even though someone may be hesitant to acknowledge a collaboration or a change at that specific point in time, I think there is a lot to be said for planting a seed and just allowing a little bit of something to germinate.
Mm.
Because I do actually think, I mean, this is how I like to work with people. I like to get to know the person first.
Mm.
And I think whether you are collaborating because it both benefits you from an industry and a business perspective, I think that is absolutely fine. I think that is still healthy. And I'm not
Yeah, for
saying
sure.
I'm
Yeah.
not open
No,
to that.
we all need to live. Crikey.
Yes.
Everyone needs to make a living.
I think what feels more meaningful and therefore comes across in the work that you then do together is when it comes about organically. And like you said, you align with people and you're singing from a similar hymn sheet and you're bringing something together which has a different feel and vibration to it, as well as just relaying and rehashing similar information. It's got your own twist on it, but one that has come together in a way where it feels very different.
Yeah.
And I quite like collaborations that are organic.
Yeah. And I kind of like what you said there as well about, we all have our own individuality. And even if you've learnt one thing, like you and I could go on a course to do something together. And because of our history, our background, our knowledge, our personalities, we'd come away from it with different knowledge. Like we might practically be applying the same thing, but it wouldn't be exactly the same. Your practice wouldn't be the same as mine, even if we trained in the same thing.
Yes,
And I love that. Like, I think that's great.
that is super cool.
But I feel like sometimes people don't want, like, it's like, let's create a little batch of robots who are all doing exactly the same. And I don't like, as humans, it's not realistic. We're all individuals. We all bring what you bring to the start of, so like the people that I teach hoof trimming, they all come, like, we've got people with backgrounds in human physiotherapy, we've got people with backgrounds in classical dressage, we've got people with backgrounds in tree surgery. Like, you know, people come with all sorts of different backgrounds and skills and levels of horse knowledge and different ideas about things. And they all bring that and it all gets put together in a big pot. And yes, they're all learning the same information and the same skills, but that kind of diversity of opinion, they all come out of it as their own individual persons with their own individual specialist skills and areas of interest and bits of knowledge. I'm so excited to see where these people are going to be in like 10 years' time. Because I hope they're still not doing exactly what I taught them to in 10 years. Like,
No.
I want to see them having gone off and gone, oh, I'm really interested in this. So I'm going to learn about this and developing their own niche. Like that for me is exciting. And that's, it, you know, it's expansion and that's how we move forward.
Yeah.
I don't want to see, like, if they're all doing exactly what I'm doing, I'm really doing something wrong, in my opinion. Yes, they need to learn some standard techniques and some info, but then they need to layer. You can't teach all this stuff, like 2.5 years, you can't teach all this stuff in that time.
No.
So they've got to take that basic and make it their own. Why
And that's
wouldn't you
like you
want to
said.
see that?
That's what growth is about, and that's what it should be about. But there needs to be that encouragement. If you've got individuals in more of a senior position, and this would apply to whatever remit, if you've got people in a senior position influencing that way of working, that is going to be one of your more foundational pieces within your learning experience. And that's a mindset that you are quite likely going to take with you until you as an individual change what you're doing. But for the
Mm-hmm.
majority, I think it may stick, unfortunately.
Yeah. And who loses?
The horse.
100%. 100%.
Do you feel that there are, just on observation, do you feel there are more professional niches which are more open to collaboration than others? I feel that body workers are.
I think like Lisa, so one of my lovely clients, Lisa, she does Munchkin's monthly massage in exchange for me trimming her lovely horse. But she's trained in lots of different modalities. And you're trained, you know, you do body work, you're trained in different modalities. Steph Watts, who's local around here, brilliant body worker, she's trained in loads of, like, and I think that's great. But, you know, I wouldn't expect to find two body workers that have trained differently to be like, well, I'm not talking to you because you haven't trained the way that. It's like, no, great, you've got some extra skills. Let's learn different ways of doing things.
Hmm.
I think, yeah, I get the impression as a whole, the bodywork community are great at that.
Why do we think that is? Do we think it's because we are always finding out something? Is it about what that? I'm trying to think how to put this into words. Do we think that it's more about what we continue to find out about the equine body, about we're learning more about fascia and neural connections and all of those elements? Do you think it's that there's always something coming up and being progressed? Or do you think it's more to do with the interest of that individual person in terms of their mindset towards what they do? And I'm thinking of it in contrast to a training perspective. So from
Yeah,
my experience, I've found, and I know I've said this before, I find the training community to be quite isolated
yeah,
and
yeah,
isolating.
yeah,
But from a training perspective, the majority of people apply a method.
yes.
And if a method doesn't, if someone else's method
Mm,
doesn't align with your philosophy, with your
mm-hmm.
approach, then it's sort of seen as something you don't really want to engage in. That's not my attitude. That is just sort of the
Yeah, yeah.
impression
No,
that I
you're
do
right. Yeah,
get.
yeah.
where I think there is a lot that could be gained from the training community because there are so many facets involved and there is so much weight for a trainer to take on. You're not
Yeah.
just looking at training behavior, you're looking at helping the owner to identify behavior. You're teaching a person to communicate with the horse, you're teaching a horse how to communicate with a person. And a lot of the time, that's remedial.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of weight from that respect, but there's looking at brain function. We're looking at movement patterns. We're looking at biomechanics. We're going to need to know something about hoof balance. We're going to need to have, so there are multiple
Mm,
things that factor in, which you would think actually there should be more openness because you are not working within one singular remit. You can't, as a trainer, you cannot do it.
no.
You can't as a
No.
hoof trimmer.
No. It's a similar sort of thing, isn't it?
Yes.
You know. And sometimes like, okay, so I deal with barefoot horses. Like I'm interested in what farriers do, and I've gone out and spent a day with a couple of farriers and chatted about different approaches and things. But at the end of the day, I'm never going to be putting a shoe on a horse. However, I think there is something to gain from having a conversation with those people because they've got different ways of doing things, and there'll be some owners and some horses that actually the sensible thing is for me to say, what I think you probably need to do here is have a chat with a really good farrier. So having that sort of broad spectrum of understanding, even if it's not something that you personally are ever going to do, is really useful. And yeah, I mean, I guess with the training thing, it's obviously it's less of my area of expertise, but as a I would describe myself as pretty novice horse trainer. I find it really interesting looking at different ways of training and different disciplines and how different things are taught. And I feel like, why wouldn't that be interesting to someone who is working as a horse trainer? Like, why wouldn't you be interested in, even if it's not something you want to incorporate into your own work, but having a knowledge of other things
Hmm.
and other people's ways of doing things and other people's ways of looking at things? Because I would imagine that would also help sometimes if you're trying to explain things to an owner. Like, sometimes being able to see through the lens of different ways of doing things gives you a chance to be able to say, okay, try and think about it this way.
Exactly that.
Like, it's a communication tool.
Yes, because you ask a question or you explain something, like you said earlier, we can go on the same course, but because of our own experiences, we'll come away with different ways of doing it or picking up on different information. So if you present something in the same way to three or four different people, two people might get it, someone else won't. And that can be in your deliverance, that could be in your wording, that could be through your teaching style, that could be through your demonstration. So it's not just about how, because this is what I really geek out on. There are certain things which I would rather go and see and go and incorporate into my own practice because horsemanship is universal, regardless of where you are getting an idea from, it can be universally applied. The principles of that can be applied
Yeah.
throughout. But what really excites me is that, okay, let's have a little bit of a look into this. I might go, I might need to go away and sit and think about that, but never discounting something unless it does compromise the horse.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at what reasons as to why it's compromising the horse. But also, how could something that actually at the moment I don't feel I may want or need to incorporate into practice, that one little snippet might really help you out with a horse later down the line and
Yeah.
might really help you out with being able to more effectively teach a person because you could it's just that little tweak and that can make the biggest change to what it is you're trying to support someone with or help them achieve.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because as much as we have an idea, each of us do, as to how we want to do something, it's also equally beneficial to learn and know what we don't want to do and the reasons why.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a I there's a lady that I know and she recently went to a clinic and she asked me a few questions about how she felt the clinic went. And there were a few things that she came away with that she didn't feel particularly good about how it was done.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, you went, and even though your experience wasn't what you anticipated it to be, you know now about ways in which you don't want to do something.
Yeah.
Therefore, it just opens doors in the other direction.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And we're talking here, and this is just another thread that my mind's pulling at, is we're talking here about collaboration in a professional remit.
Mm-hmm.
What about collaboration from a community perspective
Yeah.
within horse ownership?
Yeah.
Because your vibe attracts tribe, not wanting to cliche, but it does.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So who you surround yourself with is going to influence elements of your work, your mindset, the way you apply, the way you feel through things. All of that has an influence.
Yeah. And on the reciprocal side of that, much as all of that influences you, your your part, you're also influencing all those people right back. Like it's not a one-way thing. It
Never.
shouldn't be. Like it should be a two-way thing. Hence why it's a collaboration.
Ultimately, I think ultimately we need more community over competition because I think that's a lot of the time what it boils down to.
Yeah. And and doesn't it feel good as well? You know, when you can have positive conversations and talk about stuff and share things and like when you go to a day where you're with people that you've not met before and you're talking about new stuff and different ideas and ways of doing things and like I say, you don't have to agree with everybody on everything, but it just like I really like that.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. You just come away feeling a little bit more rejuvenated.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's a kind of like it refreshes your eyes a bit,
Mm,
you know?
yeah. Again, what's interesting is that the majority of, again, just talking from personal experience, the majority of CPDs or professional days that I've been to, which I've come away with quite a sweet taste from, has always
Hmm.
been the bodywork days.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
And some of the behavioral CPDs I've done as well.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say that like the hoof days that I've gone on, regardless of who they've been hosted by, have always been really good. I've always really enjoyed them. And, I remember when I first got my hoofbeat gait analysis kit going on a day that was hosted by farriers. And, most of the people there were farriers. And I was a bit nervous before going, thinking, oh, God, they're all going to be like tree hugging barefoot trimmer doesn't know what she's doing sort of thing. It's that whole thing of like, your perception of what other people think is never what other people actually do think. And it was a brilliant day, and I met some great people and we had some really good conversations. And we didn't necessarily agree on everything that we're going to do, but it was a good, really positive day.
And we don't need to agree on everything.
No, exactly.
This is one of these
Exactly.
things, especially with social media. Sorry to interrupt there. We can disagree and we can have a different opinion without having a dislike or being argumentative or abrasive with another person.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
It's healthy to disagree,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
explore as to why. Explore the topic, have a conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Stops this kind of like tunnel vision.
Yes. And I think, as long as you've got some common ground, I think there are multiple ways that you can cultivate an increase in collabing with people.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the time, just reach out.
Yeah,
Just send
absolutely.
someone a message or
Yeah.
comment on something that you like about someone's work. Because again, you look at social media, there's generally quite a lot of commentary about what we don't like. Actually, let's focus our eye on something that we do like.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, I really liked how you did that on that video. Your horse
Yeah.
looked really relaxed, really soft. Great job.
Yeah.
It's not a suck up. You are giving someone a compliment for no other
Yeah.
reason than you're appreciating their work. You're appreciating how that horse feels.
Yeah.
That was a really nice trim. I like the before and after piece that you put up.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'd like to hear more about your work.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we become very stuck in this mindset and this cycle that we have of going, well, I can't comment because, you know, we may perceive that it is going to be perceived in a certain way.
Yeah.
Put it out there.
Yeah.
Create a community that you want to be
Exactly.
involved in.
And let's face it, there's a block button, a block and delete button for a reason.
There is that too. But I think the
Ah.
more the more that we are open about our shared goals and encourage sharing that knowledge,
Hmm.
we can only try and lead by an example,
Yeah.
not us specifically, but the community
No.
as a whole.
As it, yeah. 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 I think that's right.
Hmm.
I think that's right. Well, I'm feeling much better for having got that little rant out of the way. I can
Well,
go
I'm
on with the
pleased.
rest
I
of
think
my
everyone will really
day.
enjoy that.
Sometimes you just need to do that. Just let it all out.
And hopefully, I think it has been very constructive.
Yeah, it has. Yeah.
Yes, let emotions flow.
Yeah. Indeed. Yes. It's put me in the right frame of mind to do my bookkeeping now for the rest of the day.
The joys. On that note,
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all very much. If you've made it this far through the episode, greatly appreciated. If you wanted to do us a big favor, please, please, please add a little review. It really, really helps us, or a like, or subscribe. Any or all of the above would be massively appreciated. But we look forward to catching up with you in 2 weeks' time in the next episode.
see you soon.